Welcome into the show, everybody. I am Pugs Moran. It's the High Noon Rant, the 7th day of November. Sorry, I'm just looking at it right here. Hey, everybody, how you doing? This is what we do here on this show. Monday through Friday, high noon, 12 p.m. I sit down here. I spend the entire morning tirelessly, relentlessly seeking the most interesting news stories, headlines, hot topics, current events, whatever it is, the stuff that you need to know. And I put it together here, and I give it to you at noon every day, Monday through Friday. Now, I don't do politics because I don't want to get into politics with you people. I want to talk about the world and stories and weird things that are happening and have a little bit of fun and laugh and get together. Just hang. It's just a hang. Man, noon on a Tuesday sucks. Noon on a Tuesday is just like the most mid of times. Noon on a Tuesday. So you're joining me. So we're just going to talk about some stuff. That's all. Put it on in the background, hang out, chill. We've been doing it now for 2 years. We're in our 3rd year of doing this. That's right. You folks make it all possible. This show runs entirely on your tips and your generous donations. So help out if you can. High tipper of the day always gets executive producer. We don't have one, but that's okay. It's expected because we don't push heavy on tips in the early parts of the month as we are now, because I hate the evangelical part of the show. I hate where I've got to shake the tree. But we have no executive producer, so maybe we can change that by tomorrow. Drop a little something if you're feeling inclined. Treat me like I'm your bartender. Treat me like I'm your, car valet, like I'm parking your car or something. I don't know, whatever. We leave that up. If you're so moved, we appreciate it. All right, what does the show do? I told you, we give you all the day's news, headlines, hot topics, current events, whatever it is that's buzzworthy. I try and talk about it. But before we do that, we have a couple of different segments in the show. I look at it like 4 quarters. First quarter, a little segment we call Erstwhile on This Day. What is Erstwhile on This Day? This day in history. That's all. It's been the same thing people have been doing on radio. Just a new name, and I give it my spin. Now, how does it work? Well, I look at all the events that have occurred on this day throughout history. All of them. I mean, we're talking billions of things. I wake up in March. Just kidding. I cherry pick the ones that I think I can rant on for a couple of seconds. And we do that. We get here on this day. Did you know this happened? On this day, did you know that? Why do we do it? Well, I believe that things, look, all I'm saying is we can find rhythms. We can find patterns. We can find all sorts of things. Because isn't that what it's about? Aren't we all just looking for this edge to tell us what we can expect in the coming hours? So there you go. We do Erstwhile on This Day. That's quarter 1. Quarter 2 is birthdays. We take a look at people who were born on this day. Not all of them. Again, that'd be nuts. We take a look at the people who I can rant on for a couple of minutes. So again, I cherry pick those. Quarter 2, birthdays. Then we move into the deads. I like the deads. These are the people who've died on this day. The people who said goodbye on this very day. Here's what we do in this segment. Take a look at their life's resume. And you and me, and together, we sit in judgment over them based on our understanding of what it takes to get into heaven or hell. We look at these people's, these known commodities. We look at their life's resume, and we decide where they go. They go to heaven or hell. We send them to one or the other place. A couple of, we've got a couple like politicians. We always send politicians to hell, right? And there's also a category that we always just automatically send to purgatory. I don't know what that is. And when we stumble across it again, I'll be like, oh, yeah, this is the one we always send to purgatory. I don't remember what it is. So that's quarter 3. Quarter 1, Erstwhile on This Day. Quarter 2, birthdays. Quarter 3, deads. Then quarter 4, we bring it home, the bulk of the show every day. All the day's news, the hot topics, the current events. So if you're ready, let's get started. All right, hold on. Before we do that, I got to say hi to my people in the chat room. I got to say hi to my friends, my pals. Who do we got? We got Taronda. We got Peter, we got Jeff, we got Leslie, we got Byron. Hold on, let me move back now. Hold on. Oh, is it not merged? Oh, I just realized is the chat room not? It's merged. Okay, we are good. There's Barney. All right, everybody, come on, fill into the chat room. We've got a couple of hours to do here. I'll give you a second to get your beanbag chairs. I don't care what it is. I don't care what you bring to this little soul circle of life. Beanbag chairs, yoga mats. You can have one of those one of those little fold-up ones that you see at kids' soccer games that, sometimes bring those. It doesn't matter. The important thing is we are all going to join hands in positivity. We're going to ditch cynicism and pessimism, and we're going to have the best 2 hours of our life. What do you say? Your approval was deafening. All right, let's get started. It's the High Noon Rant. I am Pugs Moran. It is the 7th day of November, year of our Lord, 2023. Did you know? Fun fact, we bring those to you randomly. You never know when a fun fact's going to blindside you, like this one. Although this one isn't random. We do this every day. November the 7th is the 311th day of the year. That's right. That's the fun fact. Fun fact part 2. There's 54 of these remaining until the end of the day. So get those New Year's Eve plans started. All right, erstwhile on this day, let's take a look at some of the things that have happened in history on this day. I'll give you my hot takes on them. Here's a big one. This is one that I wax on a bit. Wax on, wax off. Is that racist? Because that wasn't even necessarily Miyagi. I don't even know what that voice was. Although, if I'm being honest, the inspiration was Miyagi, who was a Japanese man who spoke in a very caricaturized Japanese way. Pat Morita didn't talk like that. What's that about? Pat Morita, the Japanese-American actor, spoke fluent English. And yet he took roles where he was like, hey, what's a white guy like myself supposed to do with that? I don't know. I like Pat Morita. So now when I want to imitate Pat Morita, I find myself imitating this like stereotypical Japanese man. Why? Because Pat Morita himself did that to me. All right, let's talk about a real American hero here, okay? Erstwhile on this day, this occurred on this day in 1837 in the town of Alton, Illinois. Now, Alton, Illinois, happens to be one of my family areas, or whatever you want to call it. It's my son. Certainly, my son has a crap ton. It's my son's mom's hometown. It's my son's mother, my ex-wife. It's her hometown. So this is one of the defining events in this town of Alton, Illinois. Now, when I first started going to Alton, when we were married and all that kind of stuff, it was like, Alton, Alton, it's the home of the world's tallest man, like the tallest dude who's ever lived. Robert Stretch, tall guy. I don't know what his name was, something like that. Anyway, the tallest man that ever lived. And the city's really proud of that. They got like statues of him, and downtown you can walk through there's a store, right? And they got like the big giant cutout, and you can measure yourself next to him. Robert something, I don't know. Anyway. Miles Davis also. Miles Davis was there. Do you like jazz? This is Miles Davis's home. He lived here. He had the mansion down there. So that's pretty much what Alton, Illinois was known for, and how it was presented to me. And I'm like, man, this is a really cool city. So here's what it is. It's a cool ass city. It's a really nice, it's a suburb. It's a built up city. It's got history going all the way back to the 1800s. It's right on the banks of the Mississippi River, directly across from St. Louis. So it's basically St. Louis. I mean, it's just there's a river that runs through it. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Mississippi River. It ain't an ocean. Like you feel like you could throw a rock to St. Louis. So my point is this. It's basically St. Louis metro area. But it's on the Illinois side. It's on the Illinois side of the Mississippi River. So on this day in 1837, that's what we know about Alton, Illinois. I go there. It's beautiful. It's cliffs. It's river town. It's really just a beautiful. Oh my God, Mark Twain, dude. Seriously, it's Mark Twain, USA. I love going there, and I think it's really cool that my son has a grandma who lives there because he gets to go there and he gets to experience that, and it's nice. The Lincoln Douglas debates happened there, right on the banks of the Mississippi. Anyway, so everybody tells you about Miles Davis, and everybody tells you about the tall guy, and everybody tells you about the Lincoln Douglas debates that occurred there. And that's pretty much what they're proudest of. But I am telling you, when they have this gigantic statue, this monument. It is the dominant thing in the town. When you are 10 miles out of town, you can see this. It's like, do you ever drive to like a Six Flags or something, and the kids in the back seat are like, do you see the flag on top of the spire? Right? That's what you're looking for off in the distance. This is what you see when you drive into Alton. You see this big giant thing. So I'm like, what is that thing? That's the Lovejoy Monument. I'm like, that's pretty impressive. Can we go see that? Yeah, you got to climb a hill, and there's some stairs. It was very beautiful. something that the people there are very proud of. But I didn't know what it was, so it's not like they're dumb for not like celebrating. I didn't know what this was. This was not. I had never heard of Elijah Lovejoy. Elijah Lovejoy on this day in 1837 basically took a bullet for all of us. I mean, and by all of us, I mean anybody who wants to open their mouth and have an opinion that is maybe not as popular as the people on the street think. Elijah Lovejoy was a Princeton-educated Presbyterian minister and editor-publisher, right, in the early days. So we're going back to 1837. So on this day in 1837, Elijah Lovejoy formed and started, he was the founder of the St. Louis Observer, which was one of the biggest newspapers in America in the emerging areas of the Midwest. St. Louis was established because St. Louis was a hub on the Mississippi River. So before other things popped up, St. Louis was there. So the St. Louis Observer, edited and published by Elijah Lovejoy. Elijah Lovejoy was an abolitionist, and Missouri was not a free state. Illinois was a free state. Elijah Lovejoy published the St. Louis Observer, and in it, he would talk about, hey, slavery's bad, guys. I know it's 1837, and maybe I'm not a man of my time, but I am a human being, and morals should pretty much stay consistent. And that was his whole thing. And it was a very popular newspaper. It was the newspaper in St. Louis, a big newspaper, the St. Louis Observer. Now, things got so bad for him in St. Louis because of these opinions that he was forced to actually move his family across the river, which sounds like he had to move to another state. He moved to Illinois because Illinois was a free state. So he moved his family across the river, increasing his commute to work by a whole 5 minutes, right? I'm trying to tell you how close this is. It's not like they moved away, but technically he felt politically he was safer moving across the river because now he was a resident of Illinois, a free state. He worked and published in St. Louis, which is right across the river. So as the Civil War era began to heat up and as, the abolitionist movement started to become more and more controversial, because don't forget, abolitionists were the punk rockers of their time. Oh, people hated abolitionists because normal people, all the good, solid, morally grounded people of America, especially the Midwestern states, they thought slavery was fine. I mean, not all of them, but for the most part, it was okay. He knew it wasn't. We know it isn't now. We have the luxury of hindsight. Elijah Lovejoy moved with his family to Alton, Illinois. And on this night in 1837, a mob followed him home to his house, chased him, started to burn his printing presses. He had printing presses set up on that side of the river because he felt that was safer as well. So the mob from Missouri crossed the river, burned his printing presses, and in the process, they beat and burned Elijah Lovejoy to death for daring to challenge the idea of slavery in American newspapers. That's why there is this gigantic monument to this man. I don't know why. I have no idea why this guy isn't more famous as a First Amendment. He died as a publisher trying to put stuff out there that we now today universally recognize as morally sound. He was a good man in his time who was killed by the overriding power of the collective bad man. Elijah Lovejoy, dead on this day in 1837. He deserves a movie. He really does. It's a fascinating story. He deserves a movie or maybe like an HBO miniseries or something. His death, by the way, on this day in 1837 really supercharged the abolitionist movement. And it's what caused John Brown, who is another very much more famous abolitionist than him, forced John Brown to sort of dedicate himself to the cause. And everything that John Brown then would go on to do was in the name of Elijah Lovejoy. So on this day in 1837, the cool-ass city of Alton, Illinois has a cool-ass history. On this day in 1874, erstwhile, a cartoon by Thomas Nast in Harper's Weekly is considered the very first time that an elephant is used to embody the GOP, the Republican Party. Birth of the elephant today. On this day in 1893, women in the United State of Colorado are granted the right to vote for the very first time. Very nice. Let's see here. It was on this day in Spain. I'm sorry, not Spain. Let me do it. Douglas, Arizona. In Arizona. Are you ready for this? Okay. Sorry. Here's another hero. On this day in 1907, we talk about Elijah Lovejoy. How about Jesus Garcia? Pretty generic name, I know. How many? Which heroic Jesus Garcia is this? There's probably quite a few. This dude, Jesus Garcia, was the railroad brakeman for the train that covered the lines between Nacazari, Sonora, and Douglas, Arizona. On November 7th, 1907, that's this day. On this day in 1907, the train was stopped in the town of Douglas, Arizona. And as he was resting, he saw that some hay on the roof of a car containing dynamite had caught fire. The cause of the fire was that the locomotive smoke box was failing and sparks were going out from the smokestack. The wind blew them and got them into the dynamite cars. Garcia, seeing this, the brakeman, drove the train in reverse downhill at full steam, 6 kilometers out of the town before the dynamite exploded, killing him and sparing the population of the mining town. All right now. That's a dude. Holy shit. Okay, let's break this down, right? This is why I always laugh. This is, there was a movement a number of years ago where there was like otherwise normal thinking people going, we shouldn't have any regulations for anything. It's like, okay, all right. We shouldn't have any. Look, I agree that the bureaucratic process has a tendency to gum up the works with red tape, but to just say, we don't need to regulate anything, that's insane. That's insane. This is a regulation issue right here. They had hay. First of all, they're chucking dynamite. They got an entire car filled with dynamite. And for some reason, they put the world's most known flammable subject of the time on top of the dynamite car. What? Why would you be allowed to store hay on top of a dynamite car? How about wet blankets? How about something? Hey, okay, there's number one, right? That there should have been somebody from the government with a clipboard there going, yeah, you can't put hay on top of dynamite. Well, why the hell not? Where are we supposed to? Well, you see the smokestack there. There's a good chance that a spark could come from the smokestack, ignite the hay sitting atop the dynamite car, and then where are we? See, there was nobody around to do that. Anyway, there was Jesus Garcia who lost his life on this day. How crazy is that? Let's pack the dynamite car in hay and then place it right next to the smokestack. You know, where we get that coal all super hot and sparky. Oh my God. You live, you learn. This is my whole theory about plane travel, commercial air travel. I think anybody that traveled in the first 50 years of commercial airline travel is nuts. They didn't have the bugs worked out. They will rush shit to market because they think they can make money and maybe it's going to be some crazy IPO. They will rush shit to the market and then they'll make all kinds of money at first and then they'll settle the lawsuits. When people die later, there's an accountant somewhere who figures we could make more money if we rush this. I mean, we could make $1 billion and what? We'll pay a $500 million class action suit. That's 500 profit. Rush it to market. On this day in 1913, the first day of the Great Lake Storm of 1913. I don't know what this is, but apparently it's a really bad blizzard. And I make mention of it because this blizzard on 1913, I looked at a map of it, and it appears that it just destroyed Milwaukee and Chicago. It appears that there was just this snowstorm that just kicked Lake Michigan and Lake Michigan's nuts. And the reason I find this fascinating is because it was what year is this? 1913, so over 100 years ago. It's only November the 7th. That's the earliest damn storm. I grew up there. We don't have storms in November. Thanksgiving, there's not snow on the ground at Thanksgiving. Hell, if I'm being honest about growing up in the Midwest, 50% of our Christmases don't have snow on the ground. Typically, the big awful snow starts to come in January and February, and then by March, it's dirty and gross. This is an early storm, one of the biggest in the history of the Great Lakes region, 1913. Killed 250 people, caused over $5 million in damages. That's over $200 million in 2013 damages. I don't know why they updated it then, but whatever. Okay. 2 feet of snow and winds reaching hurricane forces. Jesus. Although I've been in blizzards that have had hurricane force winds. I don't know. Blizzards are, look, blizzards are only bad if you're not inside. If you're inside, and here's the beautiful thing about blizzards. They let us know, you got a couple of days, you can get to the store, you can stock up, you can be like, okay, here's what I need. You know when the blizzard's coming. But then I'll tell you, having survived a lot of blizzards, I said that jokingly because having survived a lot of blizzards, I welcome them. I think they are a delight. Come on. I know the aftermath, like the 2-3 weeks after the blizzard when you're still dealing with a foot of snow and now it's all black snow and sludgy and it's gross because of car exhaust and all that. I get it. 2-3 weeks. Don't kid yourself. You love the blizzard day. The blizzard day, the day after. I mean, sure, there might be some snow shoveling involved, but it's nice. The whole world shuts down. It's like everything is on hold. If you were a convict going to jail, that's on hold. Everything is put on hold. On this day, largest blizzard in Great Lakes history, 1913. On this day in 1916, Woodrow Wilson is elected U.S. president. He's a loser president. On this day in 1916, the Boston Elevated Railway Company opened their first elevated train. Good for them. On this day in 1917, the October Revolution gets started. That was Lenin and the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks and the Soviets. That's when that whole thing started. On this day, 1917. Although it didn't start. We've been talking about it because obviously it's the October Revolution. Or is that like Oktoberfest? I get mad about this. It seems to me that they used to hold, at least in the Midwest, they used to hold, like in Wisconsin, where there's a lot of Germans, they used to hold Oktoberfest in September. And I'd be like, wait, I don't get it. And then somebody's like, no, it's a festival celebrating the coming of October. And I'm like, what's so special about October? Anyway, the October Revolution, big thing happened on this day. Let's see what happened. Maybe I should just read it instead of trying to freeball this information from high school Russian history classes. The October Revolution, which gets its name from the Julian calendar date of October the 25th, occurs according to the Gregorian calendar on this date. It was this date that the Bolsheviks stormed the White Palace, basically ending the Romanovs dynasty and ushering in an entirely new thing. On this day in 1919, the first Palmer raid is conducted on the second anniversary of the Russian Revolution. Over 10,000 suspected communists and anarchists are arrested in 23 U.S. cities. The Palmer raids. We learned about this. We learned about this in college. Yeah, these are the kind of things they teach you in college to get your mind all wrong. So the Palmer raids were just the government, the United States government going, hey, we don't like those people's politics. Let's arrest them all. And they did. And they just went and arrested everybody. You know why? Because nobody knew about it. Maybe 24 hours later, a newspaper would say Palmer raids. And then it would just be like an explanation of what happened. And because people weren't being led what to think of that news, they didn't really know what that news was. Nobody thought about the constitutional implications of just rounding up people for belonging to a political party or being suspected of being anarchists. This is America. You can do so they got away with it. They got away with it because there wasn't, Sean Hannity or somebody screaming about it. They got away with it because Rachel Maddow didn't make it. That shit didn't exist back then. We act like whenever we see these indiscretions happening in politics, which is why I always laughed when people talked about Trump. Now, I'm no big Trump fan. I think Trump's a hysterical goon. I wouldn't vote for him if my life depended on it. So let's establish that. So this is not. But when people were like, Trump is like the most corrupt president of all time, I'm like, are you kidding me? You don't know what you don't know. You have no idea how crooked these guys were back when they could get away with everything. All right, moving on. How about Palmer raids? I mean, really, the government was just like, we're sending out henchmen. I mean, that's what the Nazis did, and we demonized that. But the Palmer raids, we don't even learn about that. You got to send your kid to one of them lefty liberal colleges to learn about this chapter in American history. else do we have here? On this day in 1944, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt is elected for a record 4th term as president of the United States. It's another thing. Imagine trying to do that now. It was like back then, people liked him and shit was kind of humming. And we were at war and people were like, this is serious. We can't be dicking around with, promises. So they just went, let's make you president as long as you want to be president. Imagine if they tried that now. So this is like anything Trump would do. This is the most outrageous thing that's ever happened. This is just not something, this is unprecedented. I'm like, really? Because they just let Roosevelt keep going. What do you mean unprecedented? This country's been doing crazy shit. The only difference is we all know about the crazy shit. And there are people with vested interests in the outcome of the crazy shit who are now manipulating us, ginning us up. It was better when we didn't know. Or maybe it was worse. I don't know. Maybe if your grandpa was arrested in the Palmer raid, you'd have a problem with it. But ignorance is bliss, my people. That's why you tune into this show every day at noon. All right, keep going. Let's keep going. What else happened on this day? On this day in 1983, the United States Senate bombing. A bomb explodes inside the United States Capitol. What? I don't remember that. Imagine that happens this afternoon. Imagine a bomb explodes and it won't be something we totally forget from 1983. It'll be round the clock. There'll be suspects. Oh, Twitter go nuts. On this day in 1991, Magic Johnson announces that he has HIV. Yeah, remember that? And he's retiring from the NBA. That was heavy, that press conference. I remember seeing that. That was like, what? On this day in 1994, WXYC, the student radio station at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, launches the very first internet radio broadcast. Welcome to the party. What this is. So thank you. On this day in 2000, the controversial U.S. presidential election is resolved in the Bush v. Gore Supreme Court case, electing George W. Bush as the 43rd president of the United States. On this day, today was the election. Okay, yeah, it would go on for months, though. This is where we get all the hanging chads and all that. Recount. Isn't that the HBO movie that was made on this subject that's so entertaining with Dennis Leary and Kevin Spacey and who else? I don't know. Anyway, it's really good. See it. If you haven't seen Recount on HBO, it's terrific. It's about this whole 2000 election thing. Happened on this day. That was such a big deal. That was such a huge thing, man. If you were alive back then, the hanging chads, the Supreme Court vote. Oh, that's why by the time we got to this like Biden-Trump thing, all us old heads were just like, come on, man. Stop it. Anyway, all right. On this day, also in the year 2000, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration discovers one of the country's largest LSD labs inside a converted military missile silo. Okay, this I know about because this is a story that I'm obsessed with, and I always we come across these stories and I go, this is a movie. I want to see this as a movie. This is a TV show. So this guy has long been one of the subjects of my fascination when it comes to, man, if I could just write movies, I would write this movie. This is a movie. What happened on this day in 2000? I'll tell you again. On this day in 2000, the DEA discovers one of the country's largest LSD labs inside a converted military missile silo in Wasmego, Kansas. This is the story of Leonard Pickard. Or Picard. I don't know. I've heard it pronounced both ways. Leonard Picard was he was a Princeton-educated genius. Came from a family of geniuses. His family were all high-end elite university professors and department chairs, and he came from this world. Well, he became a hippie. And, I guess the 60s just smacked him in the side of the head right when he was at his most vulnerable, and he took all of these smarts and he took all of this knowledge and all of this stuff, and he became a hippie, and he became a hippie guy who not exactly Timothy Leary, who was probably Ken Kesey, the acid test and Timothy Leary and all that stuff. Those are the guys most prominently associated with the LSD movement. But this is the guy who probably, if you did LSD in the 1970s, he probably had something to do with making it because he was the dude. Now, he operated out of a secret lab in Kansas that was discovered on this day. And it was a purchased, defunct U.S. military nuclear missile silo. And he had turned it in, he'd converted it into an LSD lab and a party palace. And this dude, apparently, he ended up owning the local strip club because he went there so much. So he just ended up buying it. And he had this silo in the middle of Kansas where scientists, chemists were whipping out huge amounts of LSD for the global market. While this dude, Leonard Pickard, is throwing a nonstop 5-year stripper and drug party in a missile silo. That's the movie. That's the movie. You know that scene in Boogie Nights? You know the scene in Boogie Nights where they go to rip off the drug dealer, and they're in his living room. The drug dealer's whacked out on drugs, and he's blowing off fire. There's a little Chinese guy blowing off fireworks and all that. And you know that scene? That's the whole movie, man. I guess that's called the Sister Christian scene from Boogie Nights. That's this whole movie, and it happened on this day in 2000, man. I'm telling you, Leonard Pickard. Dude's hysterical. The dude had like a whole bunch of strippers that came after him in court, and it was just nuts. The details are nuts. So fun. The stuff he did. He's a wild man. He's a wild man. All right, that's it. And on this day in 2020, erstwhile on this day in 2020, Joe Biden is elected president of these here United States. All right, what do you say? Let's get in some birthdays. Let's talk about birthdays. Let's see here. Born on this day in 1879, Leon Trotsky. Yeah, we just talked a little bit about the October Revolution and the fall of the monarchical. Monarchical. What would that be? Royal Russia. Whatever. Aristocracy. A monarchy in Russia. The end of that. We talked about that was occurring on this day. One of the major players was born on this day in 1879. Ladies and gentlemen, Leon Trotsky. Leon Trotsky was one of Lenin's right-hand guys. Lenin had a number of right-hand guys. Lenin had 4 right-hand guys. Lenin had 4 dudes. When Lenin died and Stalin ascended as the next leader, there were really four dudes who you had to keep your eye on. Because it wasn't like Stalin wasn't a no-brainer. He rewrote history to make it seem like he was a no-brainer, because that's one of the things that Stalin did. And one of the reasons that our birthday boy today, Leon Trotsky, had to leave the country. Because Leon Trotsky was like, he was one of the guys that could have been the next Stalin. And he was like, that dude's nuts. That dude's going to build camps. He's going to kill like half of our population. He knew. Trotsky knew. Now, Trotsky wasn't necessarily a good guy either. He was a communist and he had his things. But Trotsky ran from... So the four were Stalin, Melyankov, Trotsky, and Molotov. Molotov, the cocktail. That's what it's named for. So Trotsky had to leave the country, and Trotsky became a critic of Stalin in the early days. Trotsky was big in New York, fancy society scene, London, the finest people. Oh, Mr. Trotsky, do tell us about that heathen Stalin. It was that whole thing, and so he's doing all this stuff. So they killed him. Yeah, he had to go. They ended up killing Leon Trotsky. But he was a cause celeb in the Western world, especially during the early days of the Stalin regime. On this day, born 1879. Born on this day in 1951, Lawrence O'Donnell. The dude's an MSNBC host. This dude is one of the biggest jerks in the entire world of journalism. There was an expose about 5 years ago that was a compilation of people that had worked for him, former producers, former friends. Not only that, but people that went back to him. He was a political consultant, and he was an absolute animal. Like, he was just not a good guy. And then he got a TV show, and he tried to he's a big phony on TV, and he's an awful, mean, cruel guy in real life. All of his listen to the interns, listen to the producers. So screw you, Lawrence O'Donnell. You're kind of a dick. Born on this day in 1951. Born on this day in 1956, Judy Tenuta. Oh, man, I never got Judy Tenuta. I knew Judy Tenuta. She was a Chicago comedian, but she was national. Everybody knew her. Like, she became national, but she lived in Chicago, and she was big on the Chicago scene, and she was kind of someone that my host Kevin Matthews liked a lot. I never got her. She was a wonderful lady, though. She was really nice. Like, she's really nice, but I never, Judy Tenuta comedy was not my thing. But I think because she was such a cool chick, and she was a cool lady, she was like a nice lady. She was really nice. She was easy to deal with. And that would have been my only interaction with her as like the producer of a show that booked her quite a bit. So she's dead, though, but happy birthday anyway. Born on this day in 1956. Born on this day in 1964, Dana Plato. Dana Plato from Different Strokes. She died sad. She died in a sad way, right? Didn't she die in like a camper, like parked in her parents' front yard or something? Ugh. Oh, man, Dana Plato. That's too bad. She was Kimberly Drummond from Different Strokes. When she was like 13, 14, 15, she was like, the perfect all-American girl next door. Kimberly Drummond was awesome. And then she became like a crazy meth head. Dana Plato, born on this day in 1964. Born on this day in 1970, Morgan Spurlock. I don't know. This guy kind of bugs me. You ever watch The Sopranos? You know the story arc in The Sopranos where Vito goes to New Hampshire and he falls in love with Johnny Cakes? Morgan Spurlock looks like Johnny Cakes. I always look at that and I think, is that Johnny Cakes or Morgan Spurlock? I don't know. He makes documentaries. He made that Super Size Me where he ate McDonald's for like 12 years and then didn't die. And now we all eat McDonald's every day. I don't know. Was that what it was about? Happy birthday, Morgan Spurlock. Born on this day in 1983. Here's a talent. Here's a kid that I really think is talented. And I call him a kid because I'm an old head. But happy birthday, Adam Devine. Adam Devine, American actor, comedian, screenwriter, producer. He's done a whole bunch of like fringe comedy stuff. Workaholics, I think, right? That's probably the first place that he was seen with any regularity. But he broke through on Modern Family, and he's been in Righteous Gemstones. He's terrific in that. He's really a talented guy, man. He's a talented, funny guy. Adam Devine, happy birthday to you, man. Born in 1983. I like you, kid. Born on this day in 1996, New Zealand singer-songwriter. I didn't know she was from New Zealand. I thought she was British. I don't know. Lord, happy birthday, Lord. We could be right. Do people know that song's literally about George Brett and the Kansas City Royals? You know the Lord song, Royals? We can be right. Well, it's not about. That's misleading. I shouldn't say that song's about. Inspired by. Yeah, that song Royals, the Lord song Royals, she was the wording, the phrase, the title, all of that came from her looking at a picture of George Brett from like an old head baseball picture of George Brett that she just happened to see, and she was struck by how badass George Brett looked in this particular cover. It was probably a Sports Illustrated cover or something. And George Brett, if you're an old head, you remember how badass George Brett was. George Brett was pretty cool, man. He was like Gary Cooper, John Wayne. He was just like, And she was struck by the energy and the vibe of George Brett, in his Royals uniform with Royals right across his chest. And she came up with the song, You Could Be Royals. Adam Reyna is so goddamn geared to be an irritant that he was correcting me on me saying that song Royals is about George Brett and the Kansas City Royals. And he heard that and he immediately started to type, no, it's not about it. And then I instantly corrected myself and said, wait a second, let me be more inspired by, certainly not about. But he couldn't, in that split second, he couldn't control himself. And then after I had fixed it by being more articulate of my point, he still felt compelled. Adam, you and me, that's a podcast. Let me just break you down. And then you break me down. And then we can do it both ways. But let's just break each other down and try to figure out what's going on there. It's the compulsion. Has this been fact checked? Are you talking about the Royal song? Yeah. I mean, she's fact checked it. Just Google it. I mean, this is an easy one. This is a no brainer. It's why Adam and I aren't arguing. It is known, as they say. All right. So we got a little bit of Lord Soldali, Dana Plato, Morgan Spurlock, Adam Levine, and Lord. That's going to do it, folks. Those are the birthdays. Them's be the birthdays. All right. Let's do some deaths. People who died on this day. Dead on this day. This is where we like to decide, are they in heaven or hell? The first one's going to test one of the prerequisites, one of the rules that we've established. It's going to test it, but it's not going to, it'll pass. On this day, dead on this day in 1962, preemptively, we're going into heaven. Going into heaven preemptively on this one. She died in 1962, Eleanor Roosevelt. Eleanor Roosevelt, probably one of the most impactful and important first ladies in the history of the United States. This woman, my God, I don't give a shit. None of you knew her. I don't know her. I don't know what she's like. Here's what I do know. every single documented piece of her history on this planet, especially while she was First Lady of the United States, is just her trying to do something awesome. That's all it is. That's Eleanor Roosevelt was just really a good person. Just like really all of her motivations, even if, at the time there were some political aversions to it because, money or whatever. But you can't fault the fact that Eleanor Roosevelt seemed to be a really good lady, so we're preemptively putting her. And why do I say it tests it? Because all politicians go to hell. That's just a rule of this little game. But she's not a politician. She's just a society lady who was born into a... By the way, you know that Eleanor Roosevelt is more of a Roosevelt than Franklin Roosevelt is a Roosevelt? And when I say this is fun. Okay, this is how weird and incestuous, the blue blood East Coast clans are. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, okay, and Eleanor Roosevelt were married. They're also cousins. They are also cousins. There is a primary, or at least until this point, there is a primary or dominant strain of the Roosevelt family. That is the Roosevelt family strain that descends directly from Teddy. Okay. Eleanor Roosevelt was, I think, Teddy Roosevelt's niece. Eleanor Roosevelt, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was just like Teddy Roosevelt's cousin. So although Franklin Delano Roosevelt was, also in the Roosevelt family and had the Roosevelt, he wasn't from the dominant, important, politically powerful Teddy Roosevelt wing. That was Eleanor. And one of the reasons that they were paired up was because of Franklin's political aspirations and Eleanor being closely tied to the Teddy Roosevelt political machine, even though they were two different political parties. But yeah, anyway, Eleanor Roosevelt, she's an interesting lady, man. Eleanor Roosevelt, I'm putting her in heaven. She's a good lady. She seems to have done a lot of good stuff. Please, and just don't project your politics of 2023 back to then. It was a completely different time. My God, Eleanor Roosevelt probably didn't understand trans people any more than you do. You'd probably connect on that. So just leave her alone. Dead on this day in 1980, Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen, folks, we ain't done it in a while, but we will do it. We will do it every time this man comes up, whether it be his birth or whether it be his death or whether it be some anniversary of some kick-ass thing that he did. Because on this day in 1980, Steve McQueen passed away. Steve McQueen draft! Oh, do you really think we ain't done a draft in a while? This is where we apply the NFL/collegiate draft into movies, right? We take one person. So Steve McQueen is the person, my favorite film actor of all time. He's one. There's, I can list the rest. Like I love Spencer Tracy and Cary Grant and all that, but Steve McQueen's my guy. Steve McQueen is just the coolest. So we're gonna do a Steve McQueen draft where I will be drafting in order. Number 1 being the top pick off the board, 1 through 5. Steve McQueen draft. Here we go on this, the anniversary of him being dead. By the way, he's in hell. Steve McQueen. Oh yeah. Oh, McQueen was a hard ass, man. He was a red ass. He was cool as shit. Like if you were good with McQueen, you were cool. But he had some Sinatra in him, if that makes any sense. Like if you got on, and by the way, McQueen and Sinatra, they went head to head. And it is said that Steve McQueen is the only guy who ever stood up to Sinatra in that era. And Sinatra went, oh, fuck that guy. And just laughed, right? Sinatra didn't leave anything. But it was over Ali. Was it Ali McGraw that Sinatra was hot for and McQueen was in a relationship with? Or was it Ali McGraw was in a relationship with Sinatra and then McQueen came into the picture? Or was it Mia Farrow? I don't think. Anyway, I'm not sure. Let's do our Steve McQueen draft. The dude was awesome. Oh, and by the way, one of my favorite cameos in the Tarantino, Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. My favorite scene is the pool party that they all go to, and Steve McQueen is there, and Steve McQueen acts as the guy who's explaining all the stuff that's going on with the Hollywoods. He's like, yeah, he's sleeping with her. She's he's doing that. Who was the guy? I can't think of the guy who played Steve McQueen. I love him. He's Bobby Axelrod from Billions. Who's that guy? The red-haired guy. He was also on Homeland. Anyway, it's great. First off the board, the number one pick in the Steve McQueen draft, easy as pie for me, you guys. The Great Escape. That's the movie. That's the one. That's the Steve McQueen movie that I saw at 6 years old with my grandpa. And I was like, okay. Actually, it's funny. You want to talk about a rare memory? I remember watching that movie as a very little kid with my grandpa and my uncle. And I remember my uncle, and this is before you could it's before you could pause or you could rewind. It was just on TV. And we were watching it. My uncle wanted me as like a little 6 or 7 year old to really pay attention to the motorcycle scene. And I guess I looked away and he yelled at me. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm a kid. But yes, I would go on in later years to really appreciate that motorcycle scene and fully understand what he was trying to get across. The Great Escape. Love that movie. Number 2, my favorite racing movie of all time. This is a weird one, sort of shoehorn here at number 2 for a Steve McQueen draft, but I'm consistent. Le Mans. Le Mans is a racing movie. Steve McQueen was also a race car driver, and not just one of these Hollywood guys dabbling in race car. No, he was a legit race car driver. He was real. And Steve McQueen entered a car in the Le Mans, the 24-hour of Le Mans race, in which is, we don't know about it here in America, but in the rest of the world, that's like the most high-end premier auto race of its day. You had Monaco, you had in the Le Mans cars were a little different. Anyway, he entered a car in the Le Mans race and then just hired a film crew and they filmed it. And then they wrote a movie. They took all the footage of him racing in Le Mans and then they wrote a movie around that footage. So when you see Le Mans, and it's got some of the greatest racing scenes ever filmed, and when you consider it was filmed like back in the 60s, you're like, holy shit. Le Mans, number 2, Steve McQueen. I love that movie. It's such a cool movie. Ooh, that movie on a really good sound system, because the noise of the engines. I mean, it's a loud movie. Le Mans, awesome. Number 2. Number 3 in the Steve McQueen draft on this, the anniversary of his passing. We sent him to hell, but we're still going to celebrate his films. How about number 3 coming in? Somebody Up There Likes Me, the Rocky Graziano story. Somebody Up There Likes Me, the story of middleweight champion Rocky Graziano, who died tragically and young. It's an very early Steve McQueen film, but one of the films that put him on his way. And I put it at number 3 because I love Steve McQueen as Rocky Graziano and Somebody Up There Likes Me. Number 4, we're going with Bullet. Why? Because you can't have a Steve McQueen list without Bullet. Bullet. So, and we're going to talk about this because there's an interesting story about Sylvester Stallone. I talked about seeing his new documentary on Netflix. And there's a story coming up about Sylvester Stallone, a nice piece in the Washington Post today that's gone viral. So we're going to talk about that in our headlines. But in this Stallone documentary on Netflix, they talk about, the beginning of the action hero and all that kind of stuff. And I am telling you, the first action hero, okay, would not have been Sylvester Stallone, okay, which is what the movie kind of says, or the documentary says. It would have been Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen, unfortunately, died of cancer in 1980. He had been sick for a number of years. But if Steve McQueen was a young man. If you've ever seen Bullet, that's a raw action movie. The Getaway is a raw action movie. That would have been the genre that Steve McQueen would have sort of been really at home with. Except the difference being is that Steve McQueen is actually an actor. So, but also, we should get to this. We'll talk about it in the Stallone thing. Stallone's also an actor, and I realize that now after watching. So anyway, moving on. Number 1 in the Steve McQueen draft, The Great Escape. Number 2 is Le Mans. Number 3 is Somebody Up There Likes Me. Number 4 is the immensely awesome film Bullet. And number 5, of course, we can't leave off The Magnificent Seven. I make The Magnificent Seven number 5 because it's an ensemble film, whereas all these other films are basically Steve McQueen in the lead. But The Magnificent Seven is one of my 5 favorite movies of all time. There you go. Steve McQueen. He's going to hell. Died on this day in 1980, but man, he was awesome. Dead on this day in 2011, Smoking Joe Frazier. Smoking Joe Frazier. He's in hell, right? Boxer from the 70s. We know how he was living, right? Boxer from the 70s. All right, Joe Frazier, he's going to hell. On this day in 2012, the world lost and Texas lost, ladies and gentlemen, Darrell Royal. Darrell Royal, American football coach, player, long time. Darrell in the stadium, yeah. Darrell Royal, long time coach of the UT. He is absolutely in hell. He's in hell, man. I'm sorry. This is, I don't know that we've made this a rule, but it seems obvious to me. I know that it's been tested because we just talked about George Halas, and I put George Halas in hell. Yeah, football coaches go to hell, man. All football coaches go to hell. You don't get to go to heaven if you're a football coach. That's got to be a rule, like with politicians. So there you go. Darrell Royal, I don't care how much he means to you, Texans. Darrell Royal probably did some shit. Some real shady. He screwed people over, and just for his own. Football, come on, man. Politicians and football coaches are some of the worst people on the planet. Who else do we have here? Leonard Cohen. Leonard Cohen died in 2016. Leonard Cohen's Canadian. Is he American too? I don't know. I think he's Canadian. He's a singer, songwriter. A lot of people like him. A lot of people who I respect are like, Leonard Cohen is my favorite. And I'm like, I don't know anything by him. It's... I don't know who Leonard Cohen is. I do know one song. I know Hallelujah, right? That's his song. That's that's all you need to know to be able to have cocktail party knowledge of Leonard Cohen, right? And that's what we all seek to have. Just enough information to be able to spend 30 seconds talking to some strangers at a cocktail party about a subject. Just 30 seconds worth of information. And then we move on to whatever the next little group we're talking about. That's cocktail party knowledge. All I have is Hallelujah. Yeah, Leonard Cohen. Oh, you're talking about Leonard Cohen. Oh, Hallelujah is one of my favorite songs of all time. And then I can just go from there for like 30 seconds. And it seems like I know who Leonard Cohen is when I don't. I'm thinking he's in hell, though, because he was a singer-songwriter. Although that song is like so beautiful. It is. It's such a cliche. It's such a cliche to be like, Leonard Cohen's version of Hallelujah is the most beautiful song ever written. It's such a cliche to say that, but it also might be true. I don't know, man. It makes me cry. I don't know what that song is even about. It's like biblical, whatever. It's really, really beautiful. But he's in hell. He's got to go to hell. Singer-songwriters, I think if we're putting football coaches in hell, although don't we like to say, well, these singer-songwriters, they may have made people happy. But not with Hallelujah. That's not a song. That didn't make anybody happy. That made people, I don't know. You know what? I'm reversing course. Leonard Cohen, you can go to heaven if you want, I guess. That's a really pretty song. Hallelujah. Moving on. Let's see here. Born on or dead on this day in 2016, Janet Reno. Yeah, remember the Attorney General that looked like the Bride of Frankenstein? She was like, everybody hated her. I don't remember if she did anything wrong though. I don't know if people just hated her for political reasons or if, because she was an easy target because she was like really big and you could make fun of that back then because it was the 2000s. I don't know. She's a politician, or at least she's involved in politics. So that means Janet Reno, you go straight to hell. Dead on this day in 2021. This makes up for it. We had a good list of deads today because yesterday we had no one of note to mention. We didn't even do a deads segment yesterday because I couldn't find anybody. Finally, dead on this day in 2021. Dean Stockwell. Oh, okay. Quantum Leap, right? Most people be like, oh, from Quantum Leap, Dean Stockwell. I never watched Quantum Leap. I think that show debuted when I was like 17, 16, something like that. And I went, this looks stupid. And I never watched it. And then an entire generation that was just a couple of years younger than me. I mean, honestly, I probably didn't watch Quantum Leap because I was going to like a keg party. It was at that stage of my life, where it's like, but if you were like a couple of years younger, maybe you didn't get invited to the keg party I was going to. So you watched Quantum Leap and everybody loves Dean Stockwell from Quantum Leap. Not me. I love Dean Stockwell from David Lynch's Blue Velvet. Yeah. First of all, Dean Stockwell has been acting since the 1840s. Dean Stockwell was a child actor first. And then he's people don't give him credit. He's one of them child actors. He was famous as a kid. Don't know what for. I don't know. Let's just say he was the kid from Lassie and move on. So Dean Stockwell was like a famous kid actor, and then he kept getting work, and so he worked pretty consistently. Quantum Leap is probably his big mainstream splash. But before that, man, David Lynch's Blue Velvet with Dennis Hopper and David and Dean Stockwell played Dennis Hopper's partner, friend. Certainly Dean Stockwell played very accommodating to the crazy Dennis Hopper character. And I don't know how to explain it. If you haven't seen Blue Velvet, it's crazy. Oh, really? I'm going to try and explain Blue Velvet. Doesn't work. Anyway, Dean Stockwell's so great in Blue Velvet. But then, some of you longtime listeners know about my crazy love for what I still consider to be the number one television show ever produced. Look, it's one of three shows, right? I mean, I'm always going back and forth between Sopranos, and I even if I rewatch The Wire for 6 months, I'll say The Wire is in there, and then I forget, it moves down. Deadwood is one that I always put in there. Anyway, most of you old heads know and you remember when I was insane for Battlestar Galactica. Well, that's where Dean Stockwell really earned his chops with me, and that's where Dean Stockwell goes to heaven. Dean Stockwell was so great in the last couple of seasons of Battlestar Galactica. It's like, well, I don't want to give it away. I don't want to spoil it for you. I really won't. I won't spoil. Here's the thing about whenever I get around my Battlestar Galactica friends. Oh, and we're out there, and you don't know who we are, but we're into it. And when the subject comes up, doesn't matter. It's been off the air for 10 years. When the subject comes up, we'll be like, so what do you think really was going on with Starbuck? And then we'll get into it, and then we'll like really break it down, and we'll mix in all of these theological theories and, political allegories with today. Greatest show was ever on TV. Battlestar Galactica, smartest show that was ever on TV. I mean, my God, it was just so well done. Dean Stockwell died on this day in 2021, and I'm putting him in heaven because he's the absolute coolest. All right, folks, that's going to do it. We are done with all of the prerequisites. Quarter 1 in the book, quarter 2 in the book, quarter 3 in the book. It is time now for us to seamlessly integrate our show into the current events of this here very day. So let's do that, right? These are all the things that are happening in the world today. Israel. I told you we're going to start every show with Israel. I don't spend much time on it. If you want to really be kept up to date on Israel, this ain't the place for you. Let's see here. Israel is deploying attack dogs now in Gaza. Okay, that seems like a weapon of war. Netanyahu says that there will be no talks of ceasefire without any release of hostages. Okay. Netanyahu also says, oh, hey, by the way, Gaza, before we get into any of these peace talks, I just want you to know we, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, we are now, just so you know, just so you're aware, we are going to maintain a security position inside Gaza indefinitely. So there you go. You blew Gaza. The parents, here, the Palestinians, the parents went away for the weekend. They threw a party, and now the parents are home, and they're never going on vacation again. That's a big development that Netanyahu is now publicly saying that the IDF will have a permanent place moving forward. There is no plans to ever bring them out of here. Let's see here. Israel will have security role in the Gaza Strip indefinitely. Indefinitely. That's from Netanyahu. Also, 46 American troops have been injured in drone attacks in the region. We don't have any troops there. We got casualties, but we don't have any troops there. Actually, I don't even know where that happened. Where did these troops get injured? I should probably. Although here we go now. I don't want to get into the weeds in this. Let's see here. The Middle East drone attacks, 46 American troops. Dozens of American troops sustained injuries following drone attacks on bases in Iraq and Syria. Okay, never mind. So it is in the region. So the entire region is a fire, if you will. All right, Israel. Again, if you want breaking coverage on what's happening in Israel, there's other places you can do it. I just don't, In the first couple of days, we were all over it. But, just like the Ukraine war, life moves on. Celebrities do stupid things. We have other things to talk about. Elections, like it's election day. So it's election day here in America. I don't know anything. What's going on with these elections? Did this sneak up on you the way it snuck up on me? Who's getting elected today? Who's not getting elected? Who's losing their job today? I have absolutely no idea. Is there anything? Is there anything going on here in Texas? Governor, no. Senators, no. Congressman. I haven't been killed. Who's running? What is like the most important thing that's going on? I don't know. Anyway, CNN's all about election night coverage. I'm like, what, dog catcher for Gwinnett County? What are we covering here? This is not a big election. Anyway, it's happening. Today's election day. So get out and vote. I don't know. All right, let's stop being silly. Here's a sick, gross story. Did you hear about this old Jewish dude who got killed on the streets in California by some Palestinian protester? The video's out there. I have not seen video of the actual dude getting hit, but good Lord, this is where we at. I've seen that. Please, if you want to see video of an old man dying on a sidewalk, bleeding out of the head, it's there. It's there. That's there. The actual thing where we could say, well, how did this start? How did he get hit? What was going on? Was this self-defense? All of that is missing. The only thing we have readily available is the poor old man dying on the sidewalk. So, let's stir it up. A Jewish man has died a day after he was injured in a violent clash at a dueling pro-Israel and pro-Palestine rally. Paul Kessler, 69, suffered a fatal wound to the head at the demonstration in California, and his death has been ruled a homicide. A 69-year-old Jewish man died a day after suffering a head injury at the confrontation. Cops raced to an intersection in Thousand Oaks, California. First responders found Kessler on the ground suffering from a head wound. Witnesses told deputies with the Ventura County Sheriff's Office that Kessler got into a physical altercation with at least one counter-protester. He fell backwards and hit his head on the ground. He was rushed to the hospital where he died of his injuries the following day. The medical examiner's office determined that his death was a homicide from blunt force trauma. Now, that is not what the witnesses are saying, but that is something that was reported early, and it's something that we do not see because there is no video of this available. Of course, the most important, the linchpin here, and this is why I got a problem with all of us looking at this poor old man bleeding out on the sidewalk and nobody asking any questions about what led up to this. So the story goes that the old man was confronting a young pro-Palestine, and this is also how I heard it, leftist protester. And the protester took a megaphone that the protester was screaming into and bonked the old man over the head with it. Bonked him over the head with the megaphone. The old man falls backwards, dies. Now, witnesses at the scene that we just read here, nobody is mentioning about that. They're saying it was a mutual confrontation between two groups pushing ensured the old man fell backwards and banged his head on the sidewalk. That's what the witnesses are saying. I don't know whose side were the witnesses on, right? Like, how credible are these witnesses? What is the agenda of the witness? What kind of T-shirt is the witness who gave that quote wearing? Does it have a Palestinian flag on it? Or, you know what I mean? We have to be, but this is why it's so frustrating, because this is probably going to be, it's an absolutely terrible story. It's an absolutely terrible story, but it's probably going to be another one of these divisive stories that we all try to get at each other's throats. And quite frankly, we don't have all the information here. If this old man was bonked over the head by a megaphone, caving in his skull, causing him to fall back and die, this is a homicide. And whoever that dude is needs to be brought up on murder charges, because that's a murder. You can't bonk an old man over the head with a megaphone. But what happens if that's not what happened at all? What happens if, most of these severe brain injuries do not occur with the initial contact. They don't occur when the dude hits you in the face. The big brain injuries occur when you fall backwards and you double kiss your head on the cement. You know that, where your head, that's where the damage occurs. Now, in this case, the first story that I heard said that described his head being caved in with a megaphone. Well, that's open and shut. That's murder. But now we're getting all of these other things like, well, they were at each other's throats and, the old man was being the aggressor. That's the other thing that people are saying. These are two people very passionate about an issue that they are deadly opposed to one another on. And we're in an area, we're in a time now where people are coming together on street corners, waving their signs at each other, and pushing and shoving is happening. And yeah, at some point, an old man's going to fall and crack his head on the sidewalk and he's going to die. That's what happened here. But was it murder? I don't know. Are these Palestinians? Because that's like, look, there's one agenda that wants, look at their monsters, they're animals, and they might be. If this young Palestinian kid clocked this old dude over the head with a megaphone, and we have that somewhere, and how can we not have that somewhere? With all of the people that were there, all of us whipping our phones out all of the time, how do we not see the initial confrontation? How do we not have some clue as to who is the actual aggressor, who was retreating, who was, these are all things that we have to look at in these situations. This is a public protest with two clashing points of view. You're going to have problems. You can't just take one side over the other. You have to allow them their American right to get together and, be an asshole. And by the way, when I say being an asshole, you choose which side you want to apply that to, because I'm not. I'm just saying these are two people with two opposing views, and they got together, and now there's an old man dead. And I think it could be used to demonize one side as being absolute monsters. And if that's true, then that's deserved. I mean, I don't think, first of all, these pro-Palestinian people, I don't know necessarily. I'm seeing that also online. It's like, well, they're pro-Hamas. We've got to stop that. And you've got to resist that. Someone who is pro-Palestinian is not pro-Hamas. There's an entire wing of the Palestinian people who do not believe in what Hamas is doing. That's the Palestinian Authority. Now, they had an election in Gaza, and the popular vote went to the people who are the monsters. So that's problematic. But it's not everybody. Everybody didn't vote for Hamas. So we have to right ourselves with the concept that there are good people who just want to live their lives, pray to their God, do their thing, be left alone. And maybe we could just think about that now instead of just driving by. Like I was over in Addison, and there was like a little protest out there. There's some consulate over there across from the Galleria, and there was some protest going on. And it was a whole bunch of like Palestinian flags and stuff. But these people didn't look like Hamas. These people were a bunch of moms and a bunch of grandmas and old men and stuff. I mean, it was just like, I don't hate these people. Look, if it turns out we have a beer and that they support terror, yeah, we got a problem. But this is a very upsetting story about this old man here. And I just don't know what the truth is. I don't know what the truth is. I know what the narrative is. I know what's being put out. I know what CNN is trying to lead us all to believe. I saw that story this morning. I also saw CBS Morning News coverage of it. And I know what their narrative is trying to lead us to believe. And they were leading us in this area of, this is murder by monster, and let's take a breath. Let's see. Where? Come on. Again, nobody was filming. Nobody else. Come on. Two people screaming at each other. There had to have been at least a dozen looky-loos, people who weren't invested in either side, who were just out there to get good footage for their phones. You're telling me we don't have any video of what happened before this poor, sad man was dying on the sidewalk? Of course we do. Why aren't we seeing it? Was it confiscated? Or, first of all, that's not a thing, okay? If you got 50 people at a public event and they're all filming, there's no way to confiscate all 50. People just walk away. I know in your movie, and that's how you view the world. No, they would just lock it down and everyone would be, fuck you. That's not how it works. A dude gets in a cab and drives away. So there would be video out there. It's the same idiotic thing where people are like, yeah, the moon landing was faked. I'm like, okay, 20,000 people working on this project. Not one of them in 54 years has said a goddamn thing about it, but you've got the proof. Okay, you can keep 10,000 people quiet on their deathbeds. These are old people. People don't keep quiet, all right? So if there's video, we should see it. I just don't know. I just don't know why we haven't. Unless it all happens so fast. Terrible story, though, coming out of California. Joe Rogan and Spotify. This is an interesting story. Joe Rogan might be leaving Spotify. There is rumors out there that Joe Rogan is being courted by Elon Musk. Joe Rogan will come over to X and do his show every day on X. Spotify in 2020 paid him $200 million. Spotify doesn't know if they want it. $200 million. He gets 10 million downloads. 10. So I don't know, downloads, whatever. Let's say listeners, because I guess that would be what I understand. I understand coming from radio. I understand that number translating to listeners and being what's known as a cumulative audience, or cum in radio terms. So let's just say Joe Rogan's cum is 10 million. So I was thinking about that, and I'm like, $200 million for 10 million. 10 million's a lot, but 10 million ain't like, okay, so Howard Stern, Rush Limbaugh, and Laura Schlesinger, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Well, probably more than that now. But anyway, they're the largest cumulative audiences in radio history, and they're at 20 million. So that's double Rogan's podcast thing. I don't think Laura Schlesinger ever got 200 million. Well, I guess, you increase for inflation. My point is this. I don't know how Spotify is making money off of this 200 million that they gave Joe Rogan. It is the most listened to podcast in the world. But again, it's only half the audience that Stern had in his heyday. It's only half the audience that Limbaugh had, which was shocking to me when I learned that reading this article. I just assumed that with digital distribution and the ease of being able to listen and access it, that it was much larger cumulative audience than the heyday of radio. But no, not. I guess that's a thought I'm going to have about people's habits of turning something on, and people remembering that, oh, I like this, I can go listen to it now on my phone anywhere. See, a habit, you get in your car, you turn it on, it's there, boom, that's it. But with digital distribution, you have to specifically remember. I don't know. That's why they have alerts, I guess. I don't know. Now is not the time for me to be thinking this through. Anyway, X, Joe Rogan show, maybe he's contemplating a move to X, although his contract doesn't expire for another year. So anything spoken on the subject at this venture, come on, yo, it's negotiations. They're just floating negotiations out there. What else do we have here? Here's a fun story about a fake billionaire Texas rabbi. Oh, and that's I'm always looking for ideas for movies, for interesting characters to make movies about. This is a good one. Billionaire rabbi in phony Lord and Taylor bid gets 8.5 years in prison. Let me tell you about this guy. Here, let them tell you about him. The man who posed as a deal-making billionaire rabbi astrologer and made a phony $290 million bid for Lord and Taylor was sentenced to 8.5 years in prison for defrauding a close friend and widow out of $3.8 million. Russell Dwayne Lewis, 57, told increasingly fantastical and outrageous lies to defraud friends and employees, culminating in a farcical attempt to buy the storied retailer Lord & Taylor with non-existent assets. This is according to prosecutors. Lewis, who went by Clifford Ari Getz, told victims of his fraud, oh man, I love a good con man. I really do. And I love a good con man because I think we know. I think I've said this a bunch of, what do we know that I'm good at? Miniature golf. Not good at anything, folks, but I'm really good at miniature golf and judging people. I can spot a con man. Easy. It's always been that way. You know where it comes from? Tell you where it comes from. Being raised by a single mom, being raised by a single hot mom, being raised by a single mom who dated a lot of dudes. Oh yeah, at a very early age, I'm sizing dudes up. Mm-hmm. Until very recently, my mom had terrible taste. The man she's married to is probably the only one where I went, okay, now we're talking. What? Anyway, I approve. So this guy probably would have sniffed him out. Like I'd have been like Russell Dwayne, the billionaire rabbi. I probably would have been like, yeah, okay, let's ask him some questions. I'm not buying this. Anyway, other people don't, because here's the way a con works. And I've studied cons, and I would be such a good con man. It's just that I like my sleep too much. I do. Sleep is too important to me. And if I was really utilizing my skills to being a real effective con man, I wouldn't sleep. Because again, my mom raised a decent person. I would feel terrible. I would be like, hey, I don't want. It's the other reason why I also believe another form of connery is sales. I've always thought, man, I could sell. I could totally sell. But here's my problem. I can't sell you something you don't want or I don't believe in. If I don't, if you're just like, if I'm, hey, you want to buy more paper this quarter? You know, if it's like that, I can't do that. And if he goes, no, I don't want to buy any more paper, I'll be like, yeah, why would you need more paper? Like, see, I don't believe in it. But if it was something I really believed in, I could sell that. But I can't lie. Like, I can't. Somebody tells me you don't need something that I'm peddling, and I'm like, yeah, dude, I can see why you don't need it, man. You know, I just that's who I am. But I'd be a good con man. Okay, so this guy's con was this. All right, let me give you a story. Russell Dwayne Lewis, 57, told increasingly fantastical and outrageous lies to defraud friends and employees, culminating in a farcical attempt to buy the storied retailer Lord & Taylor. Lewis, a high school graduate from North Texas, claimed he had grown up in London and that he had earned a PhD in theoretical mathematics and statistics, a master's degree in neurophysics, genetics, and quantum physics. A convert to Judaism, Lewis claimed falsely that he was also a rabbi. Okay. Now, see, this is why, especially in the con game, this is why the thing we talk about a lot, cocktail party knowledge, is important. This man is a believer in cocktail party knowledge, because if he's going to go out, and by the way, he's hanging out in society circles. He's impressing others. He's trying to impress society people with all this stuff. So he's at a cocktail party and people are like, oh, this is, what was his name? Lewis. This is, what was his name? Ari Getz. Okay. This is Rabbi Getz. And then Rabbi Getz would come over and then they'd be like, yeah, he's into quantum physics and neurophysics and genetics and all. And he's probably got cocktail party knowledge of all of those fields. He's got a good 30 seconds of quantum physics. You know, it's interesting in this ever expanding universe. Excuse me, I'll be right back. Whatever it is, but I would have spotted it. Let's see here. He earned his PhD in theoretical mathematics and statistics, a master's degree in neurophysics, genetics, quantum physics. It's all a lie. It's all just a lie. I know, here's a quote. I know that you know the difference between right and wrong, U.S. District Judge Laura Taylor Swain said Monday after announcing the sentence in New York. Lying, stealing, cheating are wrong, and you're paying a heavy price for that. The sentence matched the request by prosecutors. A lawyer for Lewis had asked for less than 7 years, recommended by federal sentencing guidelines. Lewis has agreed to forfeit the $3.8 million that he stole from his friend, along with some artwork that was found in his Beverly Hills home. Prosecutors claim that Lewis stole the identity of a man named Clifford Getz, used the social security number of a 13-year-old boy in Ohio, and forged a passport. Woo! That's balls. Forging a passport in this day and age? Could you imagine trying to get a forged passport through an airport? How scared would you be? Cue the Midnight Express music. Jesus. Stole the 13-year-old boys, had a fake passport. He boasted that he was worth 10 billion, 18 billion, and even 30 billion, depending on whom he was talking to. And yeah, you got to raise that up. Like, okay, so if I'm like, take this neighborhood that I'm in here, Highland Park. Like if I'm at like a house party on, I don't know, let's pick a Belclaire or maybe, you know, something like Lorraine. Okay, so I'm at a house party. I'm going to lie to these people and I'm going to tell them that I'm worth $10 billion, right? That's 10, and they'll be very impressed by that. But if I go down the block, if I go to a house party on Armstrong, I got to jack that number up. Those people are not going to be impressed by 10 billion. Those people have 10 billion. Those people are going to be impressed by 30 billion. So he would change his story based on the amount of money that was in the room, which is brilliant. He knows why. Because, man, they are the easiest marks on the planet. The super rich, the generational super rich. We're not talking about the people who started the salt mine. We're talking about the great-great-grandkids who are just cashing the checks that, you know, old Grandpa Ezekiel started them rolling in, 100 years ago. Those are the people. Those are good marks. Con men know. They go after him. Look at me rooting for this guy. So here's what he did. So here's like the funny thing. This is why he became famous. So he was convincing all these people to keep giving him money because his money was tied up in some weird, there's international problems in Europe. And, so anyway, he was using all that. So people were giving him money because why not? He had great cocktail party knowledge. He seemed really smart. Why not? He's one of us. He's important. So what he ended up doing was, in order to impress these people, he told them that all of his money was tied up in a purchase of Lord and Taylor, the fancy clothing store. So he went out and he created fake documents and that talked about his wealth, and he presented it to Lord and Taylor. And this is the big con. This was his big play. He was attempting to buy Lord and Taylor with no money, but pretending that he had all kinds of money. He was trying to become, and that didn't work, because Lord and Taylor, they got smart people who are like, yeah, this guy has no money. This is a completely forged bank thing. I called them, this bank doesn't exist. So it failed on them. And then they brought charges, and the original charges were about the Lord and Taylor thing. But in the investigation of the false, because Lord and Taylor spent tens of thousands of dollars on lawyers vetting this, deal, saying, hey, this guy wants to buy us. And it turned out this guy was never intending to buy him. He just wasted everybody's time. So that was the initial lawsuit. The judge threw that out, but in throwing that out, they discovered this $3.8 million that he stole from this woman. And now the North Texas phony rabbi, phony quantum physicist, multi-degreed man of letters is spending 8 years in jail. Anyway, what a story. You know who could play him? Let's make a movie about that guy. You know who could play him? Our birthday boy, ladies and gentlemen, Adam Levine. Or no, Adam Devine. Why do I get those two mixed up? They are nothing alike. WeWork has filed for bankruptcy. WeWork, which is the office sharing space that popped up, a decade or so ago. You started seeing them. You drive around downtown. Downtowns are gutted. Now you see these buildings with WeWork on the side. WeWork, once valued at $47 billion, has filed for bankruptcy. Yesterday, its stock price ticked below, got delisted. It went below $1 on the New York Stock Exchange. There are still WeWork facilities all over. I don't know what this means. WeWork, it's like in the world of remote working and in the world of independent contractors and freelancers and all of that, we don't have offices. Now, the pandemic showed us how easy it is to create our own home office. And so that may have certainly contributed to the decline of WeWork. But it was just, it seems like a great idea. It really does seem like a great idea. I don't know what happened. I don't know what went wrong. There's a Apple TV series about WeWork. Is it Joaquin Phoenix plays the guy who started WeWork? No, not Joaquin Phoenix. Who is it? The other guy. The Joker? Wait, no, not. Wait, the guy who also played the Joker, but not the Joker that won the Oscar. Who's that guy? Dude's also in a band. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter. I haven't seen it. Apparently, he's a weirdo, the guy who started the company. $47 billion. And then they were like, nope, it's not worth that. So I don't know. It seemed like a good idea. It seemed like one of those good 2010 kind of, where is the workplace evolving to? We are more on the go. We're more mobile, so we need to have mobile. So I thought it was a good idea, but yeah, WeWork, bankruptcy. I'm going to have to watch that documentary. There's a documentary on Hulu about WeWork. I'll watch that. And then maybe if I'm interested, maybe then I'll try and watch the miniseries on Apple TV, but I don't like Apple TV. I ain't a big fan of Apple TV. Nah, we're going to move on. I don't want to do that story. It's like, okay, so I put a story up here, and it's going to require me to rant a little, and I don't want to rant a little today. I find it needless. It's not an important story. It's something that I could definitely riff on, but in my riffing on it, it might, I don't know, social issues. I just don't want to get into that. I don't want to do that today. All right, so let's move on. Third GOP debate. Oh, look, I'm avoiding an ugly social issue so that we can talk about the third GOP debate. It's tomorrow night. The reason I mention this, and we don't really cover the debates or anything like that because, come on, it's all so silly. But tomorrow night's going to be interesting. I'm going to watch the GOP debates tomorrow night because they finally thinned that freaking herd, okay? Now we can actually listen to these people, these Republicans. Is it 5? Yes, there's only going to be 5 on stage now. And honestly, good. Because there are 3 people I want to hear from. And I want to hear from them sort of in a moment where they're actually talking and not having to argue with like 7 other people. There's 3 of them who I would be. I'm not saying I vote for them, but there are 3 people that'll be on that stage, and I'm like, okay, let me honestly just hear what this person has to say, open-minded and all that kind of stuff. And they're all on it. And these are 3 people who I've been wanting to hear from for the previous couple of debates, the first 2. But it's just been a tidal wave of just like Mike Pence. You're going to let that guy talk? Holy shit, we all got to work in the morning, please. You know what I mean? It was like that. The only idiot that's still involved here is this freaking Vivek Ramaswamy with his crazy Beavis and Butthead haircut. Oh, this fucking guy. Can we get rid of him? He's clown show. And then you got here's who's on the here's who we're going to be looking at. You got Chris Christie, you got DeSantis, you got Nikki Haley, you got Beavis, and then you got Tim Scott. Now I'm very interested in hearing what Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, and Chris Christie have to say. I would love to hear Chris Christie because I just want to hear somebody up there get booed and just like slam Trump and be like crazy anti-Trump. That's fun. That's fun for Chris Christie because I think he lives for that shit. Like, yeah, give it to me, you fucking losers. He's a Jersey guy like that. He's like, he's not a pussy. He's a big fat slob and all that stuff. You call him all those things, lazy, corrupt politician, all that. Call him all that, but he ain't a pussy. No, he ain't. Donald Trump's a pussy. That's why I love this dynamic of Chris Christie against Donald Trump. Donald Trump's a pussy. Donald Trump is a silver spoon daddy's boy pussy. Don't kid yourself. And he's afraid of Chris Christie. Donald Trump isn't afraid of anybody that he feels he lords over. Like if he's the boss, like this is why I've always said I love this. Who is this? I don't even know who this chick is. Who's the chick? Who's the chick that's bringing the charges in New York, right? She's some black public attorney or something like that. What's her name? I don't even know her name. Doesn't matter. I bet you people know her name because you've been ginned up on it. She's not an important person. She's a New York DA. We don't all need to know her name. She's bringing charges. You know the name of all the attorneys who bring charges against people? No, you don't. So whatever. Anyway, she's been politicized, so I don't even know her name, but whatever. But that's why I think it's funny that she's driving Trump nuts because seriously, in the world that Trump has existed in, I bet you this is the first time a black woman has ever given him shit. Trump has never been on a bus. That's every time I ride a bus, I get shit from a black woman. So, and I know to respect black women. They are serious. They are scary and they don't care. They'll yell at you in public. They'll make you cry. Again, ride a city bus. You'll see what I mean. I like that about this dynamic that's going on with Trump because this is like the first black woman that doesn't work for him. That isn't like a housekeeper or an Omarosa, and she's like really laying into him. So I find that fun. Christie be the same way. Christie's like a guy that'll be like, really? What are you going to do, Trump? Like parking lot kind of stuff. Christie taking his shirt off, big fat guy. And they're both big fat guys. Hell, I'm a big fat guy, so I can say these things. So I'm interested in Christie. DeSantis, that ship has sailed. That guy, talk about a guy who has proven himself to be so completely disingenuous. Whatever it takes to get the vote today. He's just such a fucking weirdo. Nikki Haley. I would vote for Nikki Haley for president. So far, so good. I don't know what else about her. I don't know. That's why I want to see her. I want to see what she's got going on. Ramaswamy, he can go kick rocks. That dude's a weirdo. That dude is a weirdo looking for power. And if you don't see it, oh my God, he's looking for a shortcut to supreme power. Dude, come on. You don't see that? You don't see this guy and go, oh, okay. Being president and serving and being a great American isn't the most important thing on his agenda. He's looking at what happens after he gets kicked out for being president because he'll get kicked out. He'll fuck up. He's fucking criminal. He's looking at, the companies that he gets to be the CEO of after. Oh, he's already rich. Yeah, dude, he's not that rich. I mean, he's a billionaire, but he ain't like a billionaire. He wants to be a billionaire. He wants to be a billionaire. He wants to be up in the like 40 billions. Not like we were talking about that rabbi guy who, when he goes to certain parties, he's only worth 10 billion, but then other parties he's worth 30. I hate him. I just hate him so much because he is so obviously a con man. And people are like, no, but he says some good things. Dude, he doesn't say any good things because they're all lies and you can't tell. Then there's Tim Scott. I like Tim Scott. I want to know what's going on with him. I want to know more about Tim Scott. What's going on? Like you see these You see these stories. I love this. Hey, here, I know this because this comes from, the liberal left on Tim Scott. The liberal left who's supposed to be above it all, and they're absolutely not. People think Tim Scott's gay because he doesn't have a girlfriend. You think that's not that came from the where did I see that? I saw because I remember when I read the headline and I was like, I would think that this account wouldn't play in such circles. But okay, here we go. Shaming Tim Scott. And then of course the Republicans. I shouldn't completely absolve the Republicans because they're certainly sounding the drum for Tim Scott possibly being gay. I don't care. Yeah, Jeff's right. Not a baby billionaire like Cuban. Cuban's a baby billionaire. Cuban is a baby billionaire. That is the right way to put it. We think Mark Cuban is like the richest guy in the world. He's a billionaire, and you can have a pretty nice life being a baby. He is a baby billionaire. What's Cuban worth? $4 billion? That's nothing. There are dudes, but Cuban's not even like one of the 200 wealthiest people in America. I don't know. I just said that. I said it confidently, so it's probably true, at least to you. All right, so there you go. Yeah, I want to hear from Christy. I want to hear from Haley, and I want to hear from Tim Scott. That's it. And by the way, the whole thing about him being gay, I don't care about that. I think that's cool. Whatever. What's that matter? I want to know if he's nuts. Like, is he nuts? Like, is he gonna say shit and I'm gonna go, oh, he's just saying that. He doesn't really believe that. That's what I look for. I look for authenticity in these people. I look for when they say something, I say, do they really believe that? Because I believe that. I believe what they just said. What they just said connected with me. But do they really believe it? That's where you have to be able to size people up. And I don't know, that Vivek Ramaswamy, man, all of my red flags go up with that guy. Nikki Haley, I'm telling you, Nikki Haley is interesting to me. A reset. That's fine. Look, every other one, that's fine. If we're gonna do this now, if it's gonna be Democrat, Republican, fine. Republican could come in. The parties make no difference to me. I mean, they do in my private moments, which is how we should all be contemplative of our politics, but not here, not publicly, not when we're having fun. Nobody cares. I don't know. I kind of think that Nikki Haley could be a nice reset. could a female president, could a mom calm everyone down? By the way, what's this Mike Johnson? Like I said, the new Speaker of the House. We got a new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and now we're starting to get all these weird ass stories about him. What's the story I'm seeing yesterday about him and his son monitor each other's porn? Is that real? He doesn't look at porn. I wouldn't think Mike Johnson looks at porn. Yes, of course he looks at porn. But I mean publicly, like he would be like, I've never seen porn in my life. Like that's what I expect. So how is there this open conversation about him sharing porn with his... we're learning weird things. We're learning like he's got one of them Matt Gaetz situations. Matt Gaetz got a weird, really handsome 20-something son, even though Matt Gaetz is only like 38 or whatever Matt Gaetz is. Matt Gaetz has got this like really handsome Cuban adopted son. That, nice on paper, nice. There ain't nothing nice about Matt Gaetz. See, that's why I'm looking at this going, what's going on here? He didn't adopt him because, who lets so he would have adopted him when Matt Gaetz was like 26 and single? Who lets a 26 single guy adopt a kid? You'd think it would happen more often, right? Like you think there'd be 26-year-old dudes like, hey, let's adopt a kid to do all the work around it, right? You would think that would happen, but no. Matt Gaetz got himself a fully grown-ass son, which is weird. Mike Johnson's got the same thing. What is this? Is this a church thing? Like, is this a thing that like churches push you to do? And I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, the third debate is tomorrow night. Enjoy. Thursday Night Football is trending. Thursday Night Football is trending because apparently the numbers for Amazon's second season of Thursday Night Football are stratospheric. Up 10% night over night on Thursday Night Football for Amazon from season one. Season one of Amazon Prime Football Thursday night did not go well. It was not what they would call a financial success for the company. However, that's what the story is about. Season two, Doing great. Apparently, they are up 10% over game to game as far as viewing audiences, and growing and growing and growing. Subscriptions are up. Now, how does this work? Not everybody has Prime. And what if your team is playing? I mean, it shows for free locally, right? Like if the Dallas Cowboys were playing on Prime and you live in Flower Mound and you don't have Prime, you can still watch the Cowboys game, right? Like it'll be aired in the local market on a local station, right? Something like that. All right. I don't know. This is not connecting. Okay. So we're going to move on from that story. Anyway, congratulations to you, Bezos. Good on you. Good. Oh, it's so nice to hear that you're making more money, Bezos. It's the other thing about how is that a thing? How are the ratings up? The joke among the NFL football schedules is that the Thursday night games are they're never good. They're always like, what? Who the hell wants to see this game? Case and mother effing point. This Thursday night's prime game on Amazon, this national showcase game, will feature the Chicago Bears taking on the Carolina Panthers. What? These teams have 3 wins combined between them. These are the worst teams in the NFL, and Amazon's putting them on national TV. So enjoy. Hey, you guys want, you know what they should say? The promos for this game should be, you guys want to see something funny? And then just, and just show the Bears Panthers game. It's comedy night here on Thursday Night Football. So whatever, pat yourselves on the back. Maybe they put this story out today knowing that on Thursday night, people are going to be mad. And then on Friday morning, it's going to be all about, what the hell is Prime doing? Who would schedule the Bears and the Panthers? Yeah, I love this game though. So let me just indulge myself here on this game. I love this game. Here's why. My Chicago Bears are absolute garbage. And we laugh. Our quarterback's hurt. We got an undrafted rookie in there. The defense is coming along. Made some changes. We're seeing some things. We're seeing progress where we need to see progress. We're seeing a little bit better pass protection. We're seeing our young high draft pick linemen starting to, put it together. Whatever. Still terrible. I mean, just absolutely. And I'm not going to say unwatchable because I'll watch every second of it because I'm a Bear fan and I'm conditioned for this shit. But terrible. Terrible football. But at least with my Bears, I mean, Jesus. I mean, we're going to head into this offseason. I mean, we got 2 first-round picks. We got 2 second-round picks. We're not, and by the way, those 2 first-round picks that we have our own horseshit first-round pick, which will probably be a top 3 pick because the Bears are going to be one of the worst teams in the league. So we'll be picking either 1, 2, or 3 with our own pick. But then we also got Carolina's pick. We got Carolina's first-round pick from next year for this coming draft. That's because remember we traded the number 1 pick last year to Carolina. They gave us DJ Moore and their first round picks for the next 3 years, or crazy 2 years with 2 and the 2. I don't know, whatever it was. I liked it. I'll take it. So that's going to come to roost for us. So no matter how bad we are, comedy night on Thursday Night Football Thursday when the Chicago Bears take on the Carolina Panthers, no matter how horrible that is to be a Bears fan, at least we're not the Carolina Panthers because they suck even worse than we do. And we got all of their picks. They ain't even going to be able to get better through the draft this coming year because we got all their picks. And that's the thing. See, they might end up being the worst team in football. So that means the Bears are probably going to be picking twice in the top 3, which I'm hoping it's 2 and 3. Anyway, that's Thursday Night Football. That's why Prime is trending. Thursday night, watch the 2 worst teams in football battle it out for. Actually, obviously, we want the Bears to win. I want the Bears to win just because it's my team and I want them to win. But also, I want Carolina to never win because I want Carolina to have the number 1 pick in the draft because that means we have the number 1 pick in the draft. And we can probably trade that number 1 pick in the draft this time because somebody out there is going to want, the kid from USC, who I do not want, and I won't even speak his name. I dislike May from North Carolina a little bit less. I don't want a quarterback. I want the number 1 pick. I want to trade it to somebody who wants a quarterback, and then I don't know. Picks. Build through the draft and free agency. That's the other thing. Going into the draft this offseason for my Bears, not only do we have 2 first-round picks, now we don't have 2 second-round picks, and we traded our second round. We just traded our second round for Montez Sweat. Anyway, not only do we have all these picks, but we're also going to have more salary cap space than anybody else to sign any fucking free agent that we want. We had that last year too. A lot of dumb Bear fans were like, all right, here we go, Super Bowl this year. And the rest of us are like, we're not even halfway there, man. Relax. This team is terrible. We need one more off season. We need one more draft class, one more free agent class. Then I'll get excited. And by that time, hopefully, my quarterback is healed and razzle-dazzling. Sly Stallone. I told you we were going to talk about this. Sylvester Stallone is trending. There's a nice piece in the Washington Post about Sylvester Stallone, and it's a review of the new Netflix documentary, Sly, which I don't know if you guys have seen it. They're doing a lot of documentaries. You know, I think it started a few months back. They did Arnold, right? It was the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary. I watched that. That was pretty good. It was good. I enjoyed it. The Arnold documentary was good. And then I think it was Pamela Anderson, right? They did the Pamela one. I only watched a little bit of that. And then I cleaned off. No, I mean, I didn't watch that. I don't really care so much about Pamela Anderson. And now they've got the Sylvester Stallone one. And I can tell you, at least in comparison to the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, I enjoyed the Stallone one more. Again, why did you hate the Arnold one? I didn't hate the Arnold one. I thought the Arnold one was really good. Maybe I just like Sylvester Stallone movies more than Arnold movies. I don't know. Maybe I found the stories that Sylvester was telling. Stop it. I just a little bit better. I would say that if, you had both of them in front of you, I enjoyed Stallone a little bit more. Everybody seems to be enjoying this. Washington Post did a big story on it today about, here's the headline. We've been getting Sylvester Stallone all wrong. And, I can't think of a better headline because that's kind of like when I was watching this thing, I'm going, he's not who I think he is at all. He's not. Like, you imagine who you think this person is from 50 years of watching him and being a fan, and Rocky and Rambo and Cobra, all of that stuff. Copland, so good. Stop or my mom will fall from the train. Was that him? Did he do that? I don't know. Whatever. Stop or my mom will shoot. I think he did that one. Anyway, here's what it says. It's really good. It's really good. And he just seems like such a wonderful man. He really does. He seems like a wonderful man. And the reason that he seems like such a wonderful man is because he is the most self-aware celebrity I've ever seen in one of these docuseries. Like here's the difference between him and the Arnold one. In the Arnold one, Arnold's hysterical. Arnold's cool. Arnold's bigger than life. And everything about Arnold did it best. And that's what that is. That's all Arnold all the time. And it's fun because Arnold's a wonderful dude. And we all love his movies. And you can enjoy that. But the Sly one was a little bit different. Sly's super self-aware. Sly talks about how you thought I was a dummy, and like all this kind of stuff. This dude is an insanely gifted artist of 50 years. He has written hundreds and hundreds of thousands of words of poetry over the years and short stories. We just totally dismissed the fact that he wrote and basically directed Rocky. John Avildsen gets the credit for it, but John Avildsen walked off that set. That was Rocky. All the other Rocky movies he did, he wrote. He's really more than I think what we lump him into. And that's basically what this Washington Post article is about. I'll read you a little snippet from it. Ask any film snob if the right movie won Best Picture in 1977, and you'll most likely get an earful. That's the year that masterpieces like All the President's Men, Network, and Taxi Driver were in competition, any one of which would have been a respectable entry into the official canon of Oscar-winning films. But instead, in one of the greatest upsets in Oscar history, Rocky won. An event that, between Jaws opening 2 years earlier and Star Wars looming on the horizon, would sound the death knell for the taut, sophisticated, politically aware, and profoundly pessimistic movies that had made the 70s so great. The narrative that Sylvester Stallone helped destroy Hollywood's last golden age is never addressed directly in Sly, a new documentary about Stallone on Netflix, but it is upended, if only obliquely. The film by Tom Zinni challenges several assumptions about Stallone, who narrates his life in startlingly candid, often heartbreaking recollections about his rise and occasional falls. What emerges isn't the superstar who turned Rocky and Rambo into American icons as much as a thoughtful, surprisingly self-aware artist who happens to be much smarter, far more sensitive, and steeped in cinematic history than even his biggest fans may have ever known. And I just, that's pretty much it. When you watch this movie and you come away and you're like, wow, I might let Sylvester Stallone do my taxes. He is not the person I thought he was. He's really a smart guy. He's a smart, driven guy. His background, his father, there is video of he talks about what a dick his dad was, right? But he loves his dad, and his dad is like, a big part of his life, has been a big part of his life. Dad's dead now, but it's been a big part of his life and all that stuff. And he talked about how his drive to be successful when everybody else was like, you suck as an actor. No, you're only going to play thugs. You're only going to play that. He resisted all that. He said it came because he wanted to prove his father wrong about him, because his father was always like, you suck, you're a loser. When he was at his height in like the early 90s, Sylvester Stallone's father was a polo guy. Yeah, like you don't think about that. You think, well, Sylvester Stallone was born in a tenement in Hell's Kitchen and all. No, his dad owned stables and ranches and horses, and his dad was a polo guy. His dad was a very good polo guy. Polo, right? Surprising background of Sylvester Stallone. You didn't think he came from the world of polo. So Sylvester Stallone was really, really good at polo as a kid. He was like one of the nation's top-ranked polo players as like a kid. And then he walked away from it because his dad ruined it for him. And when Sylvester Stallone was at the height of his popularity and fame in Hollywood, he decided to bring polo to Beverly Hills on a much larger scale. It had already existed, but Sylvester Stallone wanted to become the face of Hollywood polo, and he was going to start playing polo again for the first time in 30 years because his dad ruined it for him. And he did this for his dad. He bought the Beverly Hills Polo Club. He created these matches. He bought the world's finest stable of polo horses right there in Los Angeles. They would do games on Sundays. In the very first game, and they got video of this because Entertainment Tonight was there to cover it. The very first game, polo match, Sylvester Stallone is out there on his horse, and I don't know what good polo looks like, but he looks like he knows what he's doing. And he's out there with world-class polo riders, and he's out there with his dad, and his dad's on another horse. And Sylvester Stallone comes up for a shot, which would have been a really nice shot. And Entertainment Tonight got this on camera. And Sylvester Stallone's son of a bitch father comes up from behind him and takes his mallet and slams it into Stallone's ribs. Stallone goes flying over the hood of the horse, the head of the horse, lands on the ground. The whole place gasps. The game starts. They pick up Stallone. They clap. He walks off, and they got video of it. And to hear Sylvester Stallone watching that video of what his father did to him in that moment, it is heartbreaking because his dad was just a dick. Here was this moment where Sylvester Stallone was trying to realize all of his father's dreams. Look, Dad, finally, you're at the top of the polo world. I bought you all of this. This is all for you. And then in front of cameras, his dad cheap shots him, breaks his ribs, knocks him over. It's good. The Washington Post did a really nice piece on Stallone. If you haven't had a chance to see this, he's terrific. I think I love Sylvester Stallone now. I do. He's... Oh, and his daughters. Oh, my God. Sylvester Stallone's got like 10 daughters from like 8 different supermodels from all the different eras of supermodeldom. He's got one from the 80s. He's got one from the late 70s. He's got one from the early 90s. Hell, he's probably got an infant from some 19-year-old French supermodel he's dating now. No, he's married. He's been married to the same woman for quite some time now. Jennifer... Wait, who's he married to? They didn't go into that. They didn't really talk about all of that stuff. Oh, the other thing that's really surprising is that, and I love to see this too in the Sly thing. Sly and Arnold are thick as thieves. Like Sly Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger are buddies. They love each other. They're like, yeah, he was the Coke to my Pepsi. They were like, they have that. So that's also kind of cool to see. Vegas residency. Here's a cool little thing that's happening. For me anyway, I like this one because I like to keep tab on, these Vegas residencies. You got all these bands now. You get Celine Dion. You can go see her whenever you want. Guess who's coming to Vegas? They've announced a residency at, is it Caesars? Let me make sure. Because this is a good one. This would be a fun, because you go to Vegas and it's like, are you gonna see a show? And then sometimes you end up seeing like a good show. Like the best show I ever ended up seeing when I went to Vegas was The Police and Elvis Costello. Now that's something. But then I've also seen like topless girls on horses juggling stuff, right? I saw the Circus Juggle Spectacular over at, so some of the shows kind of suck. But now, like they're bringing in like big name guests. Now sorry, the dog just made some noise. They're bringing in like, big name guests for, week, 2 week, a month. Britney Spears like goes and does like every like Tuesday at 9. I don't know, something like that. But these residencies are kind of a cool thing. So here's one, but where is it happening? Headliner residencies on the Las Vegas Strip are constantly in a state of flux. While the Strip has some long-running residencies that seem to go on forever and ever, many of the engagements take a break for a few weeks or months before coming back. Popular 1970s superstar Barry Manilow began his long-running residency in the Strip in 2005. Let's see here. He plays the Wayne Newton. He's another famous one here. They're going to list some of these. I'll tell you who's coming. This would be fun for Vegas. This is how I would do Vegas. U2 will be making their home at the Sphere. That's that new cool ass place. U2 is going to be taking up residency at the Sphere in 2024. Adele has taken up residency at the Coliseum at Caesars. Kelly Clarkson has also taken up residency there. Okay, so here you go. This is the one. This is going to be at Wynn Encore. I go see this show. I go see this. They're bringing, and it's full metal. It's all the real ones. There ain't like, two sound guys or two, he was our choreographer back in 94. No, it's a full-on new edition. That's right, new edition. It's coming to the Wynn Resort. Here's why. Because you do understand that with new edition, you also get Bobby Brown and Belle Biv DeVoe. That's right. So essentially, imagine how great that show's going to be. I would totally, you're in Vegas, you're partying, you want to get up for the night, you want to party, you want to have fun, you're dancing. Why not start the night off with new edition? Oh, really? You're going to do the whole new edition catalog. Okay, that's awesome. Who's this? Bobby Brown going to do 5 hits? Well, we get a little Motown Philly in here. Back again. Whoa. Belle Biv DeVoe. That's a great show. That's a fun show for my old ass. Bunch of dudes up there with hip replacements. I don't know. How is that any different than, my mom going to see the Spinners in 1985, right? I don't know. Not that she did. I'm just saying. All right, what else do we have here? That's it, folks. We are out of show. We are done with show today, folks. 53. Look at us. We're coming in 7 minutes early. Can I stretch for 7 minutes? I can. Will I? That's the question. Hang on in the chat room a little bit. Let me see. We don't have to end the show right here. Let me see what the people in the chat room been getting into. Calling me out on my bullshit these past 2 hours. Barney Styles says she's only really popular with Democrats. Barney, stop. Why? Don't even shut up, man. Why? What? Don't even, that word is bad. I'm going to ban that word and the R word from the chat. I don't even know what you're talking about. I have no context. But I guess if I got to yell at Barney, I got to be yelling at Adam, right? Probably too. Adam probably said some stuff. I don't know. Oh, it's an accountability app to not look at porn. He's not swapping links with his son. Well, I didn't say that. I just said that this is what they're saying. But Barney, stop it. Barney, you would obviously know about that. Why do you allow yourself to be ginned up? Well, look, I'm sorry. You like it. Okay, that's it. We'll go with that. You like it. You enjoy it. You enjoy being angry at the libs. I get it. I enjoy it. That's what I do. Like, I rage, I get angry at whatever things. This is my shit. I don't get angry at people over their politics, though. And I don't fucking make politics any point of interest in my life. Ugh, stop it, you guys. Who else do we have? What else? What is an accountability app? That's a weird thing. He wants to see what his son is looking at. I don't know. Okay, accountability. What's up with him having a son, though? What is that? What is that? Can we agree that that's weird? Non-politically speaking, it's weird. It's weird. It's weird. Fucking these people are weird. Doesn't matter whether they wear red or blue. They're all fucking weird, man. And you guys turn some of them into heroes for whatever reason. I don't know. It's an accountability app. Come on, Barney. Dude's a weirdo. They're all weirdos. Fuck. Let's see here. They're about to have 4, unless they hilariously tie. I don't know. Adam said that about 10 minutes ago. I have no idea what that's about. That's the problem with me going back. Oh, is he talking? Is that about the draft? Jeff Ballard. Fields definitely flamed out. That's what we call out of town stupid. The fuck are you talking about? He threw 8 touchdowns and 0 picks for over 400 yards in the 2 games prior to him breaking his thumb. What the fuck are you talking about? He was taking off and then he broke his thumb. Flamed out based on what? 8 touchdowns. Threw 4 on Sunday and then played Thursday night and threw 4 more. Dude, don't. That's out of town stupid. That's like, what another out of town stupid thing is? I saw yesterday. No, don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. And Jeff, you're not out of town stupid. You're in Iowa. Adam, the king of out of town stupid. Fields ain't it, sorry. Like, that. Adam knows. Adam knows. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Let's see here. All right, more. Frank Smith is talking about the kid from USC. Yeah. I blocked his name. What is his name? He sucks. I'm sorry. He is the most overrated college prospect I have ever seen. Scares the shit out of me that the Bears are going to fucking go for this kid. I'd rather have Mays, but he is the most overrated. There are like, there's idiot meatball fans in Chicago who are like, they ought to just get the quarterback and Lincoln Riley. Are you fucking nuts? What? Wait, we're developing a quarterback who's still on his rookie deal. You want to start from scratch again with a new head coach? God fucking damn it, people. Would you be patient? Bah! Adam, Fields ain't it. Shut up, dude. Shut up. What else? See, now I got it done. Here's my problem. I'm like 20 minutes behind on these comments. So that means when I go to the middle here. Jeff Ballard says TDs don't mean shit. It's the W's. Oh, fuck. TDs don't mean shit. It's the W's. Come on, dude. That is like such an oversimplification of the realities of the situation. Football is not a one-man sport, okay? A quarterback can have incredible stats and still have 0 wins. Why? Because it takes more than just a quarterback. You got to have a defense. The other team has professional athletes out there too. I hate that argument. Yeah, there have been amazing quarterbacks in the NFL who have played for absolute horseshit teams. By your argument, Archie Manning sucks at quarterback. Archie Manning makes the top 10 list of every greatest quarterbacks of all time. He never won dick. Come on, man. Better than that. Archie Manning had no wins. I guess according to Jeff Ballard, Archie Manning is a garbage quarterback. Now this I agree with. This Adam and I can agree with as we talk a little sports here to end the show. The Bears may have ruined him. Absolutely. This poor kid, this fucking super athlete of a thoroughbred has had it's 3 and 4 years. 3 different offensive coordinators in 4 years going back to Ryan Day in college. So he had that one in college. Then he had Matt Nagy. Then Matt Nagy, actually 4, because Matt Nagy had it taken away from him and was given another offensive coordinator. So he had to learn that. Then he got Luke Getsy coming here. Now he's got to learn that. No, you're right. You're absolutely fucking right. Chicago Bears are a dumpster fire of an organization. They need to fire everybody. And I can't wait for the Hallis McCaskies no longer owning this team. They are terrible, terrible owners. They don't give a shit. Bunch of rich kids who are generationally rich, who just want to hold. Look, once Virginia McCaskey dies, she's 100 years old. God love her. I love her. I love her, right? I don't hate her. I hate her kids. I hate her idiot kids. Virginia is amazing. She's going to die. We're all going to be sad. But then those freaking kids are going to sell that damn team, and we're going to get some crazy billionaire who's going to want a good team. And, that's what I'm living for. That is what I'm living for. Hey, you guys, we're going to do Radio Misfits tonight. Yeah, we are. We did. I thought last night was good. Do you know that last night's show, you guys want to hear something weird about last night's show? I had a whole show prepared. I had all kinds of stuff that we were going to get into. And then James showed up a little bit late. So it just became that had nothing to do with me. I made an active choice not to do the show that I had prepared, because for some reason yesterday's show just flowed so organically. We just started talking. We just hit the ground running. There was no preparation in yesterday's show at all. I like that. I don't think that should be the norm. I think it's always good to have something prepared, something to talk about. But I enjoyed. I don't know. These are just all my little observations. I also went back and listened to my interview with Sybil. I did a podcast with Sybil for the dog project that I'm working on. Sat and talked to her for a good hour. God, I love that girl. Everybody loves that girl. She is the closest thing. I was trying to think of that because it's a weird dynamic. It's like, so being an only child and not having any brothers and sisters and stuff like that. But I see Sybil as my little sister. I always have. And it doesn't matter that we were separated for a period of time. It's like the minute you reconnect, you're like, yep, we're back. I love her dearly. I see Kelly as my older sister, and that makes her mad because she's not older than me. But you're like my older sister. You're like the cop. You're like the one that stops all the fun from happening. Nah, that's not true at all. That's actually not true. But it's fun to brand people. All right. Speaking of my lovely and talented partner, Kelly, holy shit. That other podcast we do, Practical Picks, on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. Holy shit, you guys. Yeah, she got kicked in the teeth this week. Woo-hoo! Jeez. Not good. However, she's been dominating so thoroughly all season that her average, her week to week average, she's still crushing it. She's still like, double digits over 500. But man, she got crushed this week. She made some bad picks. The NFL games were decided. The games were decided by scores that flew in the face of nature. A colt, under no circumstance, should be able to take a jaguar. It's just a colt. A colt is a baby horse. If a colt is playing a jaguar where the jaguar lives, you would think that jaguar, that wild jungle cat or whatever it is, that jaguar is probably going to feast on that baby horse, that colt. That's not how it played out. So she lost. That's how we do practical picks. Was it the Colts and the Jaguars? Or was it the Colts and the Panthers? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Whatever. It was like a baby horse versus a jungle cat of some kind that I know wasn't a lion or a Bengal. That leaves Panthers and Jags. Isn't it weird that there is, I saw this fun fact, the most common name of college athletic teams is, are you ready for this? This was kind of an interesting list, I thought. The most common name is Wildcats. There are more Wildcats at the high school level. At that, I saw that. How come there ain't no Wildcats in the NFL? I mean, we got all kinds of cat. We got Bengals. We got Bengal Tigers. We got Jaguar. We got no Wildcats. And yet, in every other level of competitive sport, Wildcats is the most common name in America. Got no Wildcats. I can smile a little now. Things are going good. I always had to be on guard. Tonight on the Radio Misfits show, it's a continuation of Cute Outfit Week. Yeah, that's right. I did a whole bunch of laundry. A couple weeks ago, you remember I was cleaning stuff in the tub. Well, that inspired me to actually do real laundry. So I did a whole bunch of real laundry, and I went through all my clothes, got rid of everything. Shit I haven't worn. I haven't gone out. I haven't been jada social on the scene. I ain't been that guy since before the pandemic. So I just went through all my stuff, and I got all my stuff cleaned. And I used to. I had a girl who used to dress me, a friend who used to pick out clothes for me, and she'd give me outfits. And she made a little file on my Google Drive that she called Cute Outfits. And so I went, when I was doing all my laundry and getting I went, okay, let's put together her cute outfits. Let's see what I got. So I put together all my cute outfits. And this week on the Radio Misfits, it'll be me wearing another cute outfit. It's Cute Outfit Week. Involves a lot of ties. Her thing was ties. She loved ties. And she's a very interesting reason for loving ties. She liked ties on a men in both formal and informal attire. And the reason that she liked the tie was because she said that a tie is telling every woman out there that you're serious. And I'm like, well, what if it's a tie with a jean jacket? She's like, that's even better. She's like, but the tie is if you approach a girl cold and you're wearing a keep on trucking shirt, right? She's going to but if you approach a girl and you've got a tie, even if it's loosened or if it's done stylishly, it doesn't have to be a suit. You can wear blue jeans and a shirt untucked with a tie. That was always one of her little gimmicks. She's like, I put my people in ties. And she dressed her people. She dressed TV shows like in Chicago, like Chicago Fire and all that. So whenever you watch, look for the people in the background. Like if they're at a bar or something, it's going to be a lot of dudes in fashionable ties with blue jeans. Cute Outfit Week. What will I wear tonight? All right, I got to go. I love you guys. We'll see you tonight. You're the best. Bye. The best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I have got an old guitar, that is all I need. I don't need no 401. I don't have the greed. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day, the best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I can smile a little now, things are going good. I always had to be on guard, that is understood. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. I am on a never-ending quest.